When we lose someone we love, whether it be a child, a parent or a grandparent, sometimes we need support. Now, we're lucky enough to have the Children's Bereavement Centre in Newark available for such a thing. And now we're going to listen to Rachel.
Good morning, Steve. My name is Rachel Wilson and I'm the fundraising manager for the Children's Bereavement Centre.
Goodness me, that's cheery, breezy, isn't it? Yeah. How are you managing?
Okay, actually. It's been a difficult 12 months, I can't deny, for us and all local charities, and national charities as well, really.
So, give me the name of the charity again?
Children's Bereavement Centre.
Okay, where are you based?
So we're based on 3 Kings Road in Newark. So as you go up Kings Road, as if you're going to go and turn into the big supermarket that we've got there, Morrison's, we're just located on the right-hand side. So we've got a little car park at the back. So that's where the main centre is, but our services are available right across Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire.
Oh, you know, I never knew that.
Yeah, both counties. In fact, we have outreach centres across Nottinghamshire, so we take space in different business centres and things across the county so that we can see people in the heart of the community where they live, because obviously getting to Newark can be an issue for some people.
Right.
Although we don't have outreach in Lincolnshire yet, as long as you live in Lincolnshire and you can travel to Newark, then you can access the service.
All right, so you've just said yet. Well, I take it that's the future.
Well, we're Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire wide, so ideally it would be fantastic at some point in the future to have some outreach centres in Lincolnshire, because getting to Newark isn't feasible for everybody. Right. Not everyone has a car, it can be quite difficult.
So what are you looking for? I mean, what do you look for when you look at these outreach centres then?
Well, it's about having a suitable space in which people can come and see their counsellor. It needs to be a safe environment, easy access, but also we need to make sure that we can support that area, as in raise funds and that sort of thing, because obviously that comes with a cost to hire space. So we do get some support from Lincolnshire. Most of our fundraising support, people that do activities and things like that for us, do it because they've engaged with the charity in some way, so they've been part of the service and receive some support from us. But we need to raise our profile in Lincolnshire a little bit more. I think because the charity started in Newark, obviously this is where we're best known, and we've sort of radiated out from there. All right,
let's start there, because that would be easy. When did the charity start?
So the charity started about 16 years ago, and it started, lots of people would have known it as Sue's Place, because the lady that started it was called Sue, and it's grown from there, and it's now the Children's Bereavement Centre. So yeah, we've been operating for about 16 years.
And explain to us, just for those that are not aware, what is it you actually do?
So we provide bereavement and pre-bereavement support for children and young people, that's aged between 3 and 18, that have been bereaved, or somebody important in their life has been diagnosed with a terminal illness. So we provide support to those children that have lost somebody important or are struggling to come to terms with a terminal illness of someone that's important to them.
Well, there are some people that are going to be watching this and going to go, oh, hang on a minute, she was the director of the Newark Advertiser. How on earth has she managed that? How did this come about? Well,
I left the Advertiser, time goes so quickly, doesn't it? But it'll be 3 years ago in September. So I saw the position was advertised, and I got to a stage in my life, I've got a little girl now, and I wanted to do something a little bit different, something a bit more fulfilling, wanted to give something back. So although I'd never worked in the charity sector before, I thought I'd give it a go and apply, and here I am 2.5 years later.
How different is it?
It's very similar in that it's all about people. So when I was at the Advertiser, I was in sales, and it was a community newspaper, so again it's about people. So there's similarities there, but it's just different because people are doing things for a different reason. So the joy of my job is the variety of people I get to meet just on a day-to-day basis. I don't work directly with the children, I'm not clinically trained at all, but I might meet some of the families because they want to get involved in some of our fundraising activities. They come into the centre when they were allowed to come into the centre, obviously, pre-COVID, and then I get to deal with businesses as well, because we get tremendous support from the business community. So it's very similar in the people side of things, but it's just different in terms of the reason why people are doing it.
How's funding been?
Well, for us as a charity, our CEO, Kate Baxter, looks after the funding bits. So she will apply for pots of money. So people like Children in Need, those people that have given to Children in Need, they give that to Children in Need, and then that's filtered down to local charities like ourselves. So we get some support from them. So Kate does all the funding bits. I deal with the fundraising, so both corporate and community. So I'm there to encourage people to jump out of airplanes, walk on fire, organise their own activities, and then organise the events that we do as well. So, and obviously deal with corporates.
Right, imagine you are talking to me as a corporate.
Yes.
What are you going to say to me to get my money out of me?
Right, okay. Well, it's not just about your money, Steve, although that would be very great. We'll be very grateful for it, obviously.
She says with a smile on her face.
But it's about your time and your expertise and the people that you know as well. So if I was to come and talk to you as a corporate charity partner, for example, I would talk to you about the charity, why we do what we do. Lots of people don't realise the statistics that surround this subject. But,
so tell us some.
Well, for every 22 minutes in the UK, a child is bereaved of a parent. Now, during the course of this interview, if this lasts half an hour, that's one child that will have lost, one of the most important people in their lives. We support children not just that have lost parents, that might have lost grandparents, siblings, friends. It's somebody that's significant to them as an individual. But every 22 minutes, and every one child in every average class size across the country will have lost a parent or a sibling during their young lives.
Heartbreaking, isn't it?
Absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've suffered my own loss with members of my family, but that's as an adult, and that's difficult enough. So to comprehend what's going on at such a young age is very, very difficult.
So what else do you need from corporates? I mean, you say time. What do they have to give you?
Well, it varies from corporate to corporate, and one of my roles really is to find out why that corporate wants to or is potentially quite interested in supporting us. It could be a whole raft of different reasons. It can be that a staff member's nominated us because they've had experience with their family access the service, or they know somebody that's accessed the service and they know the difference it's made to them. It could be that the CEO has a particular passion, perhaps because they've accessed the service. It might be that they have a policy of having a charity of the year every year and they swap every year and they like to support a local charity, which is what I find from local companies. They want to support a charity that supports the community in which themselves and their employees live. So, but the things that we would offer them is obviously publicity in return for supporting us, because obviously that's great profile, really good PR for them. We can work with them on press releases and things like that. Lots of corporates have staff volunteering days, so they might say to their staff, right, you've got 2 days a year where you can be paid by us, but go out to the community and do something for a charity. So we've had groups come in that have painted the centre, done some gardening work for us, come along to events and volunteered. We've got people coming to help us plant our daisies as part of the daisy campaign on the Friday. So that's all funded by the corporates and giving their staff the access to go out and do those sorts of things.
Is there much of a difference between the corporate and the individual wants that you need?
I think with individuals, they are either participating in something that we're organising, so it might be a skydive, for example. Last Sunday we actually had our first fundraising activity for over 12 months that involved the general public like that. So we had 7 people leapt out of an airplane at 15,000 feet at Langer on Sunday to raise funds for us. So you're encouraging people to do those sorts of things that we put on. So we've got a skydive, a wing walk, a fire walk, or you're encouraging them to organise their own activity. And what we've found during COVID is the big events where people come together have obviously been cancelled.
Sure.
So half marathons, that sort of thing. But people that organise their own activity that they can just do on their own, so whether that's a head shave where they're sat in their kitchen and someone shaves all the hair off, or they run their own half marathon or full marathon, then those things haven't been as affected in terms of them being able to do the activity. So again, it's encouraging people to think about maybe what they could do, because it doesn't have to be something huge that raises tens of thousands of pounds. It could be hula hooping in the garden for half an hour that you get £50 sponsorship from your immediate family. That's amazing, fantastic for us, because if you can have enough people doing that, obviously, you know, the pennies soon stack up into pounds. It becomes a significant amount of money.
It's interesting that, like you say, I mean, you know, the pandemic's on its way out, hopefully. Hopefully, yeah, touch wood, you know, we can get back to normal, whatever normal was. Is the fact that you've still got people that want to help.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things, it's really humbling actually about this job, is what people give in terms of time and money. So as a charity, we couldn't function without our volunteers. We have a volunteer coordinator. I don't look after all of those.
How many of those do you have?
Well, we've got our clinical volunteers, and then we've got our event community volunteers that I engage with, and I've got about 40 of those.
Really?
Yes. Now, some might only come along and do the backpacks at Christmas in the supermarkets, which we didn't have last year, obviously. But some engage with us and volunteer on an ongoing basis. So, for example, we've got some people coming to the Daisy campaign. They'll come to the Dragon Boat Festival. They'll come along to a stand if we've got one on Newark Marketplace. They'll come and pack bags for us. So it's not about saying, oh, I've got to give 10 hours a week every week. It might be that you do 2 hours a year. It might be that you come along and do a lot of the weekends in the summer when traditionally, obviously not last year, but traditionally we're out about a little bit more at school fetes and things like that, raising awareness and doing some fundraising. So Christmas light switch on, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Like you say, people still want to give. I think the most heart-wrenching thing for me is we lost somebody, and the kids were taken into the bereavement centre when their mum passed. And you make those lovely books, don't you? The memory books and everything.
Yeah, they do. So the support that we offer is very, don't use the word client, but it's very service user focused. So no two sessions are the same. And the one-to-one support, which we haven't been able to do in person during the pandemic, I'm pleased to say that the charity has remained open and providing support.
How did you do that though?
Via Zoom. In the majority of cases. So obviously that's not appropriate for all people, you know, very young children. Some people don't have access to the facilities and the technology to enable them to do it. So it wasn't for everybody, but it did enable us to support those that were able to access the support in that way. So we did still support over 630 families during the last 12 months.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's amazing, yeah.
I mean, a lot of that number is decreased because we haven't been able to do any of our group work, which we've always traditionally done. So obviously that all stopped. And as I say, not everybody, it's not appropriate, or they just would prefer not to do it via Zoom, and that's absolutely fine. We give them all the choice with that. So it does mean that very sadly our waiting list is longer than we would like it to be, but it's because we've had to wait to start face to face. So we've started face to face now, but we're certainly not back up at the capacity that we would like to be, and that's primarily because we need to leave time between each session for deep cleaning, and not all of the outreach venues are open. So if a venue isn't open, you know, we can't deliver a service from there. So we can run the centre ourselves because that's our building, but you know, when we're in outreach, that's not possible. So, but traditionally the support would be 8 weeks of one-to-one support with the same counsellor at the same time of the week, so that child or young person gets to build a relationship and rapport with them. And those sessions vary from young person to young person, but there's lots of arts and crafts done. Memory book that you're referring to, so they're given a book and they put pictures in and write how they're feeling, that sort of thing, to explore the memories of the person.
See, that's interesting to me, you know, doing the drama and everything else. I know how it can impact on you, you know, emotionally and everything else. What other art practices do you bring into the service?
Well, they do all sorts, and I have to say, you know, again, pre-COVID, when the centre, the children were coming into the centre, you would hear lots of different noises coming from the rooms, actually, and more often than not some laughter. There's undoubtedly some tears as well, but you know, they can express themselves. We have a stomp mat, which is to help with anger, so you know, you can sort of stamp out your feelings. They make stress balls, as well as the memory books. We do a memory jar, and that's where you have chalk, chalk, and then you have salt. So you sort of rub the chalk to make a colour, mix the salt in, and make a layer in a little jar, and you get lots of layers of different colours. And each of those colours means something to you. So if I was making it about somebody that I loved that sadly died, I would pick colours that meant something between me and that person.
Oh wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, so there's a memory jar as well, and there's lots of drawings and stickers, and because you can imagine a child comes into the room for the first time and sits down, they're not just suddenly going to open up and start chatting.
How do you actually manage that then?
Well, that's why no two sessions are ever the same, and they're led by the child. So some want to talk, some don't. But it's about giving them that time that is solely for them. Right. That the attention is on them, and then very often they will talk about what's happening as they're doing some arts and crafts.
Bless.
And that's how.
Now, I mean, you mentioned about your clinical people that you've got there.
Yeah.
What type of training do they have?
Well, they're different. So we have we've got a play specialist who specialises with younger children. We have bereavement counsellors. We've got support workers. So it varies actually. And I'm, to be honest, Steve, not au fait with all of the different qualifications. What I would say is the clinical team are an amazing group of people. They really are. So they're the heart of the charity. They deliver the service, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many of those have you got?
Well, we have volunteers, we have clinical volunteers, but actually paid members of staff, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So when you say volunteers, on the clinical side, are they like nurses and other people that come in? Yeah,
so they tend to be ex-teachers, GPs perhaps that have retired, people that have worked in children's support and social services and things like that. So generally people that want to give something back. They're amazing. Yeah. The people that give their time, I mean, it's these days in particular, it's often the most valuable thing of all, isn't it? There's not enough of it generally, and for them to give that to us on a regular basis is
so
amazing.
We were talking about bereavement and everything else there. What's the youngest child do you think you've had through?
Well, we see children up to between the ages of 3 and 18, so it's a huge range. As to how many of the really young children we've seen, I don't have access to that kind of statistics. So, but it's a big age gap, and these children will have different feelings at different ages. So, we also provide support for adults. It's not just for the children. So
you see that you've hit on something there which is really, really important, I believe. And that is, like you say, there's you've got this support in place for the kids, but the parents are always left. Where do they go?
Well, there is support for adults, and it was actually, the charity was born out of the realisation that there wasn't much support for young people. Right. So, and that's where the Children's Bereavement Centre came from. That was the original concept for it, because there was support put in, for example, if mum had sadly died for dad, but who's supporting the children, because dad is trying to deal with what dad is dealing with, or whether it's parents or grandparents or whatever that relationship is. So they've got their own grief to manage, and then there's the children as well, and that's where the idea was born. But we do work with the whole family, because obviously if we work with the whole family and can help the parents, then that helps everybody in turn. So we do work with the whole family where we can.
So now, like you say, we're coming through this pandemic and everything else, and that waiting list. I mean, what is the waiting list time now?
It again sounds like I'm being vague, but it depends on how specific somebody is. It can depend on how complicated the case is. It can depend on whether that person is able to come in school hours or is restricted to out of school hours. Right. Can they come at a weekend? Can they come to Newark? Do they need to be an outreach? So there isn't an answer to that, unfortunately, Steve.
No, that's fair enough.
But you're talking. It's definitely weeks. Yeah.
So I suppose what I'm trying to get at is, every day that ticks along, that's just mounting up, isn't it? Emotionally and everything else.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that anybody can do? Can we do something to help?
We have lots of reading resources on our website. So, you know, if you're struggling, you can go there and have a look at that. We've got books that are age appropriate, because obviously how you would speak to a 5-year-old and the terminology and the language you would use would not necessarily be the same as if you were speaking to a teenager. And it's also important to say that if somebody accesses support with us once, doesn't mean that they can't come back again. So we're classed as short-term early intervention. So generally, on average, the support will last for 8 weeks. If at the end of that 8 weeks, the clinical person feels it needs to be extended, then it can be. But, you know, somebody might come to us at 6, and then when they go to secondary school, they may find that they're struggling again because it's a big life change for them, and their comprehension about the situation is different. Yeah. So they can come, you know, they can access the support service again and come back to us. So, and even in the short time I've been there, I've seen that happen with a couple with a couple of families, and so much so that we have now a young ambassador group. So the young ambassador group is a group of volunteers. They're young people, and not all, but the majority have access to support at some point in the past, and they've now, you know, they don't need the support anymore and they're a little bit older, but they want to give something back to the charity. So they get involved in things like interviews for clinical staff to give a young person's perspective. They come along to help me out at events and things like that, or did when we could go to them.
Right.
So because you've come once doesn't mean you can't come back again, because this isn't something that goes away.
Sadly, no.
No, it's learning to live with it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the costs. Okay. Yeah. So, what does it cost to run the bereavement centre? Well,
we the last year, obviously, we've been able to reduce our costs significantly because we've not had all the volunteer costs and, you know, in outreach and things like that. But on average, it costs about £350,000 a year to run it.
About how much?
£350,000.
Really?
So, and just 4% comes from any kind of statutory funding. So we need to raise the rest ourselves via fundraising, community and business, corporate, and applications for funding and bids and things like that, which I don't get involved in that side of things. Kate looks after.
So are we saying the biggest expense will be the wage bill, or is it the building?
I don't know the answer to that question, is the honest truth. No, I'm not involved at that sort of level.
No, it's only just trying to get a level on it or an angle on it, just so we can say, well, actually, you know, we need to assist these guys because that's where that big pot's going.
Well, obviously, like all businesses, we have to pay the rent and the rates or whatever they are. But we try to invest as much into the actual delivery of the service as possible.
Yeah. So let's say I said, well, I'll tell you what I want to do. I would like to sponsor 8 sessions. What's that going to cost me?
8 sessions of one-to-one support costs approximately £200. So if you did an activity and you raised £1,000, for example, that would be 5 families' lives you would be changing for the better. Right.
So how long do these sessions last?
About 50 minutes.
50 minutes? Yeah. That's good money.
So once a week for 8 weeks, Right. Yeah. So on average,
Yeah, that's nothing then, is it? Not for 8 weeks.
It's not about, you know, some people say to me, oh, but Rachel, I can only raise £100. Amazing. I can only raise £50. Amazing.
Sure.
The memory books cost £4 each. So if you did something and raised £20, you know, you've bought, my maths, 5 books. Testing me 5 books. Our comfort bears, this is our CBC bear. These are given to all of the children and young people. Some counsellors give them at the beginning of their sessions, some give them at the end. And basically what it is a point of contact between them and the centre. So once their support has finished, and they're back at home doing what they normally do, then they've got the bear to refer to, and, you know, sort of think about some of the things maybe that they talked about in their sessions with their counsellor with the bear. So we call it our comfort bears. These cost £6. So again, you know, if you raise £50, you would be if you raise £60, let's do it like that because it's not so taxing on my math, then you would have funded 10 of these bears.
No, 11.
If you raise £60 and that's £6 each.
Oh right, see, I was only testing you.
Yeah, you see,
your brain was going, wasn't it?
I was thinking 11, might be 66. Yeah, so you know, you could have funded 10 of these. So it's not always about raising thousands of pounds. That's always gratefully received, obviously.
Sure.
But, you know, we want people to engage, think about doing their own activities, you know, whatever it might be. If you've got a passion for something and you can do that thing and get sponsored for it, amazing. We would like to hear from you.
Yeah, no, cool. Now, I mean, you do, and you know, and the centre has done over the years some, you know, some great little projects and everything else. Now you've got the Daisy on the table. What's the Daisy about?
So this is going to be our third attempt, so I'm going to say third time lucky of organising our Daisy exhibit. But we were good to go with this literally as the pandemic started at the end of March last year. So we then launched it in July with the view to holding the exhibit in October. We pushed the exhibit back from October to March, and we've now pushed the exhibit back from March to the end of June. But basically, the ethos behind it is we have these lovely daisies. We picked a daisy because we felt it was a very child-relevant flower. You can put them together to make a daisy chain, which is sort of a link about family and supporting one another. So we have these beautiful metal daisies, and the head does come off, so if you wanted to, you can roll up a little message and pop it inside.
Oh, right.
And we've asked for a donation of £25 for one of these daisies, and it will be planted as part of our Meadow of Memories exhibit in Newark Castle grounds on the 26th and 27th of June, which is a Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So we've got, coming back to volunteers I mentioned earlier, we've got lots of volunteers coming down on the Friday to plant about 400 daisies for us.
Really?
And then on the Saturday and Sunday people will be able to come in, we'll have some plaques with all the names on of the people being remembered, and they'll be able to take a moment of reflection, remembrance. For some people, you know, if they've lost somebody sadly during the last year, they may not have been able to go to a funeral.
Yeah, sure.
You know, normal grieving rituals have been interrupted and disturbed, so they'll be able to come along and take a few moments, and then at the end of the day on the Sunday, or afterwards, they can come to the centre afterwards to pick it up. They can come and pick their daisy up, and then they can take it home and have it in their own house and garden.
Bless. Who came up with the actual idea?
Well, there's other charities do similar things, and I actually bought one of the poppies from the Tower of London. I don't know if you remember when they did that.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, so obviously on a completely different scale, because there were hundreds of thousands of them, and they did it the opposite way round. They planted them and then you donated for them, whereas we've had people donating for them, you know, throughout the last 12 months, well, since we launched it in last July. So I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to do something visual. And actually, because people have been able to donate for them online, we've been able to continue it throughout the pandemic, because it hasn't involved people coming together. I mean, it will, obviously, in June, subject to, you know, the roadmap and us being able to lift the restrictions as we hope we can. But yeah, so it's been fantastic for us as a charity, because it's been an ongoing fundraising stream for us.
Was it actually dear to make?
No, we bought these, well, there's a cost of charity and we've committed to that cost, but the company that we got them from do this sort of thing for the charities, so they were pretty kind to us, really. They're used to working with much bigger charities with bigger order quantities.
You
know, they were good to us.
So are they still available?
Yes, they are still available. So if you go to children'sbereavementcentre.co.uk, on the homepage you'll see there's a big daisy. Click on it and you can get your daisy there. And then we're also, for every daisy that's donated, an actual daisy, we add a daisy to our virtual Meadow of Memories as well, and pop the name on there as well. So we've got 3 virtual meadows now on our website, just as something for people to be able to do during the pandemic, so that they could be able to see it. So, and then we're hoping on the Saturday to have a few activities for the children to do, and on the Sunday we're hopeful at the end of the day that we've got somebody who's going to come along and just say a few words for us to close the event. So so that's going to be in Newcastle grounds on the 26th and 27th.
Well, going forward, the future, what does the future hold for you as a charity?
Well, the demand is there, Steve, that's for sure, in terms of people that require the service. And we think that, you know, with the emphasis and the effects actually of lockdown on mental health, you know, that demand is only going to increase. So for me, I suppose the pressure is on to raise as much money as we possibly can to ensure that we can continue to support as many children, young people and their families as possible. So as I say, we're a local charity, Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire. Strategically over 5 years to have some outreach in Lincolnshire, I think is on the plan. That's between Kate and the trustees really. But,
good.
for me, it's about putting together a good mix of fundraising opportunities. So the events that we organise, so we've got the Dragon Boat Festival as well.
Talk to me about that. When's that going ahead?
That's on the 19th of September. That's in partnership with Beaumont House, so that's a joint event, and we're actually completely sold out for Dragon Boat teams.
Amazing.
So we're so delighted. So we've got 36 teams signed up, majority from local companies, but we've got some local groups, sports clubs, that sort of thing. So we're sold out for those. So we're just now busy getting them all going with their fundraising side of it and putting together the events that will happen alongside it on the day. So family fun day. So there'll be a bit of live entertainment, some bouncy things for the children, a face painter, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's an amazing day. We held it in 2019. Obviously couldn't hold it last year, but the feedback was amazing. So we're super excited about that. So we've got that. I'm launching something called Quids for Kids on the 16th of May, so not long now, which is actually International Children's Day. And that is the umbrella under which we're going to encourage people to do their own fundraising activity. So it's, if there is another lockdown or another spike, that should hopefully be less effective.
Sure.
So I've got a whole raft of different ideas of how people can get involved, and the concept is you get people to pay quids for the kids, and it soon adds up. So we've got some medals and certificates for that as well.
Cool.
So,
well, what you need to do is you actually need to keep us in the loop.
Yes, we do indeed.
Don't you?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Because Newark TV will gladly. I would like to order one of those. What do I do?
If you just go to the website, Steve, and fill in the details. You put the person's name who you're donating in memory of.
Yeah.
You'll get an automatic reply just to say thank you for the order, and then I will be back in touch just with details about the event.
That's fantastic.
Like that,
okay. So, are we in agreement that you're going to keep us in the loop of everything that's going on?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got, we get video clips of lots of different things, so I can send those through to you.
That'd be amazing, yeah.
We've got, if you've got golfers that subscribe, we've got a CBC Golf Day on the 16th of July.
Oh, right.
We're planning a Rounders tournament on the 18th of July in partnership with Newark Roundtable. So,
where's that going to take place?
That's at Newark Rugby Club. Again, if anybody wants to enter a team for that, just let me know. I mean, who didn't enjoy a game of Rounders at school?
Yeah.
So that's happening as well.
Good.
We've got the golf days. We've got a wing walk on June the 12th. I'm doing that myself. So
are you serious?
I am. I can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. We've got another abseil. We've got an abseil, on September the 11th, and we've got another skydive on the 3rd of October.
Amazing.
So they're the things that people can sign up to from us. But in the meantime, if anybody has a passion to hula hoop or run, walk, cycle, bounce, anything at all, sponsored bounce, anything like that, then please do get in touch, because if you get just your family and friends to sponsor you, that's amazing. We'd love to hear from you.
And in return, you'll give them plenty of sponsorship.
Yeah, we'll give them
promotion.
Support. So we give support. So we'll help you set up an online fundraising page, which is the way most people do it now, particularly with the social distancing as well, because we're not all in work to sort of harass our colleagues and come on, give me a fiver, because round the water cooler, because we're not there, are we?
Right.
It's about sharing the link to your online fundraising page. But we've got sponsorship forms. I've got ideas about how you can raise money. I can do graphics for you to put out on social media. So the support is definitely there. You certainly will not be on that fundraising journey by yourself.
Right. I need to go back to one sad comment that you made earlier. Within, was it 20 minutes or 22 minutes?
Every 22 minutes. In the UK, this isn't locally, but in the UK, a child is bereaved of a parent.
Well, I believe we've actually gone through 22 minutes, so sadly, somebody has passed. So, if anyone's out there listening, then let's have them in.
Absolutely.
Let's get them in.
And just to say as well, if there's people out there listening that are struggling to deal with this, it's really easy to refer to the service. You can self-refer, you don't need to come through any sort of official body or anything like that, or be referred. You can refer yourself. If you go to our website, our email's on there, you can pick up the telephone.
What is the website?
So the website is Children's Bereavement Centre, they're a long one I'm afraid, .co.uk.
Okay.
The email address is info@childrensbereavementcentre.co.uk, and the telephone number is 01636 551739.
Rachel, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Lovely to talk to you as always. And if anybody would like to get involved in the charity, either to fundraise, volunteer, or you need our support, please do just get in touch.